The restaurant slowly filled with laughter, soft music, and the gentle clinking of glasses, but at the corner table beside the rain-covered window, one chair remained painfully empty. Every passing minute felt heavier than the last as a young woman sat alone, forcing a smile each time the waiter politely asked whether she was still expecting someone. Her hands trembled slightly as she looked at her phone again and again, hoping to see a message that never came. Around her, strangers celebrated birthdays, anniversaries, and engagements while she silently watched her own dreams collapse in front of everyone. The embarrassment hurt more than the loneliness. She didn't know that before the night ended, one unexpected sentence from a complete stranger would completely change the direction of her life forever. The words were simple, but they would echo through her heart for years. "He'll regret losing you." Before we continue, if you believe kindness, second chances, and unexpected miracles can change lives, please take a moment to like this video, comment below where you're watching from, share this story with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to the channel, Kindness Speaks. Your support helps us continue sharing stories that inspire hearts around the world. She had always believed that love was supposed to feel safe. Growing up in a modest neighborhood, she watched her parents struggle through financial hardships but never lose respect for one another. They taught her that true wealth wasn't measured in expensive cars or luxury homes but in loyalty, honesty, and compassion. Those values stayed with her throughout school, university, and the early years of her career. She became the kind of person who always remembered birthdays, stayed late to help coworkers, and quietly donated part of every paycheck to families in need. She wasn't perfect, but she genuinely cared about people, often forgetting to care for herself in the process. When she met the man who would later leave her sitting alone in that restaurant, everything seemed almost too perfect. He was charming, confident, and ambitious. He admired her kindness, praised her intelligence, and promised a future filled with adventures. Slowly she built her entire future around those promises. She ignored the small warning signs. She excused the moments when he canceled plans without explanation. She forgave the times he forgot important occasions. She convinced herself that love required patience and sacrifice. Every disappointment became another opportunity for her to understand him instead of questioning whether he truly valued her. Months passed, and their relationship became increasingly one-sided. She celebrated his achievements while quietly hiding her own struggles. Whenever she needed emotional support, he seemed too busy chasing promotions and impressing important clients. Yet she remained hopeful because she believed difficult seasons eventually passed. Then came the invitation that she believed would finally change everything. He reserved a table at one of the city's most elegant restaurants and told her he had something important to ask. Her heart immediately imagined the future she had dreamed about for years. She carefully selected a beautiful navy blue dress that reminded her of her mother's favorite color. She spent hours preparing, not because she wanted to impress strangers but because she wanted to celebrate what she believed would become the happiest evening of her life. She arrived 20 minutes early. He never arrived at all. At first there were believable excuses. Traffic. Meetings. Unexpected delays. Then silence. Calls went unanswered. Messages remained unread. An hour turned into 2. Eventually a notification finally appeared. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't concern. It was a short message explaining that he had changed his mind about their future and didn't think they belonged together anymore. Everything ended through a few cold sentences while she sat surrounded by people celebrating love. She quietly paid for the untouched dinner that had been prepared for 2 people and tried to leave before anyone noticed the tears filling her eyes. But pain has a way of making even the strongest person feel small. As she reached the entrance, someone gently spoke. Not with pity. Not with curiosity. With certainty. An older gentleman who had been dining alone stood beside her. His tailored suit suggested extraordinary success, yet his eyes carried the warmth of someone who understood heartbreak better than most people ever could. He looked at her for only a moment before calmly saying that the man who walked away would someday regret losing someone capable of loving so deeply. Those words stopped her completely. For the first time that evening, someone wasn't treating her like a victim. Someone saw value in her that she could no longer see herself. The gentleman introduced himself only as a businessman passing through the city. He politely wished her strength and prepared to leave. Before walking away, he quietly handed the restaurant manager his payment and requested that the young woman's meal remain complimentary. She tried to refuse. The manager smiled and simply explained that the gentleman insisted. She thanked him, but he had already disappeared into the rainy night. She never imagined that this mysterious stranger happened to be one of the country's most respected billionaires, known for building companies, funding hospitals, and quietly helping thousands of families without seeking attention or publicity. For him, kindness had always been more valuable than recognition. The days that followed were incredibly difficult. Heartbreak doesn't disappear overnight. She questioned everything about herself. She blamed her appearance, her personality, her dreams, and even her kindness. She wondered whether loving people too deeply had become her greatest weakness. Weeks later, while searching for motivation, she volunteered at a community center teaching children after work. Watching those children smile slowly reminded her that her worth had never depended on someone else's decision to stay. She began rebuilding her confidence one small step at a time. She exercised regularly. She read books that challenged her thinking. She pursued professional certifications she had postponed for years. She accepted opportunities that once frightened her. Every morning became another chance to rebuild the woman heartbreak had nearly destroyed. Months later, an unexpected email arrived. One of the largest charitable foundations in the country wanted to interview her for a leadership position coordinating educational programs across underserved communities. She almost declined because she believed someone far more qualified deserved the opportunity. Instead, she attended the interview. When she entered the conference room, her heart nearly stopped. Sitting at the far end of the table was the same gentleman from the restaurant. He smiled with quiet recognition. Only then did she discover his true identity. He was the billionaire founder behind the foundation. She immediately assumed she had been invited because he remembered her. He gently explained that wasn't the reason. After seeing her at the restaurant, he became curious about whether someone with such visible kindness would eventually surrender to bitterness or continue choosing compassion despite being deeply hurt. Without revealing himself, he had quietly followed the progress of the community center she volunteered at through reports submitted by local coordinators. Again and again, her name appeared. Children adored her. Parents trusted her. Co-workers described her as dependable, humble, and endlessly encouraging. He hadn't offered her a position because she needed saving. He offered it because she had already proven who she was when nobody important was watching. That realization changed everything. For the first time since the painful breakup, she understood something powerful. Character always outlives rejection. She accepted the role and devoted herself completely to helping disadvantaged children gain access to quality education. Her work took her across cities, villages, and schools where hope often seemed impossible. She listened to struggling parents. She encouraged discouraged teachers. She comforted children who believed poverty defined their future. Every person she helped slowly healed a part of herself. Meanwhile, life moved differently for the man who had abandoned her. His career initially flourished. He attended glamorous events, posted carefully edited photos online, and convinced everyone he had made the right decision. But success built upon selfishness rarely lasts. His reputation slowly collapsed after dishonest business decisions damaged important partnerships. Friends disappeared. Professional opportunities vanished. The people he once impressed quickly forgot him. One afternoon he unexpectedly saw a television interview highlighting remarkable educational projects transforming thousands of young lives. Standing confidently before cameras was the woman he had once abandoned through a text message. She no longer looked broken. She looked peaceful. Purpose had replaced pain. Confidence had replaced insecurity. Compassion had become her greatest strength. Only then did he fully understand what he had thrown away. Months later, he requested an opportunity to apologize. She agreed to meet him, not because she wanted another chance, but because forgiveness frees the heart far more than resentment ever can. He admitted his mistakes. He confessed that fear of commitment and obsession with status had blinded him. He finally understood that genuine love couldn't be replaced by temporary excitement. She listened respectfully. Then she thanked him. Not for leaving, but for unknowingly forcing her to discover a version of herself she would never have found otherwise. She wished him healing and walked away without anger. Sometimes closure isn't about hearing perfect apologies. Sometimes it's about realizing you've already become stronger than the pain that once controlled your life. Years later, educational centers funded by the Billionaire's Foundation continued changing thousands of children's futures. She eventually became one of its most respected leaders, admired not only for intelligence but for extraordinary empathy. The Billionaire often described her during leadership conferences as proof that the world's greatest leaders are not always the loudest or richest. They are often the people who choose kindness after experiencing heartbreak. He never forgot the rainy evening at the restaurant. Neither did she. Whenever she visited that same restaurant for foundation events, she quietly looked toward the corner table where her life had once seemed to end. Instead of sadness, she felt gratitude. Because sometimes rejection isn't the end of your story. Sometimes it's the painful beginning of the life you were truly meant to live. The chair that had once symbolized abandonment had become a reminder that someone's absence can make room for extraordinary blessings. Millions dream of meeting someone wealthy enough to rescue them. But the greatest gift that stranger ever gave her wasn't money. It wasn't influence. It wasn't opportunity. It was one sentence spoken exactly when she needed to hear it. "He'll regret losing you." Those words gave her enough hope to survive one terrible night. Everything else she built herself through courage, perseverance, forgiveness, and unwavering compassion. If you ever feel forgotten, abandoned, or rejected, remember that someone else's inability to recognize your value does not reduce your worth. Flowers remain beautiful whether someone stops to admire them or not. Diamonds remain precious even when buried beneath ordinary stones. Your kindness, your dreams, and your heart are treasures that the right people will recognize at the right time. If this story touched your heart, inspired you, or reminded you never to give up on yourself, please like this video, share it with your family and friends, subscribe to Kindness Speaks, and leave a comment to encourage someone who may be facing heartbreak today. Your support allows these stories of hope to reach even more people. Special request: before you leave, please write one comment answering this question. What would you say to someone who feels abandoned and believes they are not enough? Your words may become the hope that changes another person's life. Thank you for watching. May you always remember that rejection can delay your happiness, but it can never destroy the beautiful future waiting for a kind and